Tracy Martin.
Can I thank the Minister for rising and explaining that, because it was, I did not sit on the Select Committee, and obviously these clauses that make these changes to Clause 13 did not go to the Select Committee, which is unfortunate, but I understand that. The bill went some time ago, and it's taken a while to come back through the House. And I appreciate her explanation, because it is concerning to see what, to a layman, it looks like quite a substantial change or insertion into the bill, and having only this part of debate to truly flesh it out, so therefore not having access to the same advice that the Minister has. It is greatly appreciated that she took that time, so thank you for that. Up until that moment, I was unsure whether New Zealand First would have been able to support it, because it would have been preferable, obviously, and I'm sure we all agree it would have been preferable to be able to discuss that and have submissions on that at the time with the rest of the bill, but obviously that was not able to happen. So again, thank you, Minister, for that. And certainly New Zealand First supports the amendments also to ACC legislation to allow for supports for young people, for people who are harmed by the actions of others in this way. Can I also pick up on another statement at the Minister's second reading, where she mentioned Clause 13? So the other changes to Clause 13, and I quote from the Minister, "The bill creates a new Crimes Act offence of indecent communications with a young person, and that means anyone under the age of 16. The new offence also applies where the person charged communicates indecently with a police constable." We've been hearing this from Ms Curran, believing that the constable to be a young person. The new offence is punishable with it by a maximum of 3 years imprisonment. This offence aims to address a gap in the law that exists between objectionable publications of offences, which apply only where an offender records a communication, and the sexual grooming offence, which is only made out where the offender takes steps to meet that young person. And this is a bit I'm particularly interested in, Minister. Indecent communication with a young person can occur in a variety of old and new media, including text or picture messaging, internet chat, and of course telephone. So, and we fully support the new offence. So New Zealand First fully supports the new offence, although my colleague Dennis O'Rourke, who sat on the Select Committee, and I'm sure he articulated it very clearly, did not believe that the maximum of 3 years was enough for this particular offence. And he pointed out that compared to other offences inside the bill, that he felt were not that different in nature, where the possible outcomes for the offender was that it went from 5 years to 10 years, and in one case 14 years. He didn't feel that 3 years was adequate, and I think he articulated that quite clearly in his second reading speech. And now I want to pick up on the contribution around that particular last paragraph and the contribution from Ms Curran previously, and when she mentioned the digital harm bill. And I'm wondering whether the Minister might take another opportunity to actually just rise and speak to this particular point, and her comments about that these indecent communications with a young person can occur in a variety of old and new media, including text or picture messaging, internet chat, and of course the telephone. And I'm assuming that this also means Facebook grooming. So a real life incident that I'm aware of, a 17-year-old going on Facebook and grooming 13-year-olds to then meet them and try and have sexual relations. Now, my understanding is, and please, I hope for some clarification, Minister, is that this legislation could catch that internet grooming, and so I guess my question is, and it's around the two bills, is it more appropriate that what we're trying to capture in the digital harm bill, which has an offence sort of a sentencing provision, I think it's around about the same, it's 2 years or 3 years, is the recommended sentencing around digital harm in that bill. And I'm wondering, Minister, whether this actually would cover that the digital harm we have with regard to that legislation, we have the approved agency, we have all these other ways to deal with up to a point, and that actually perhaps this legislation takes that point onward, and that this might be the answer to the impasse that New Zealand First has with that piece of legislation. So just putting it out there, looking for any sort of direction. We certainly don't want to minimise, in that comment, we don't want to minimise the impact of digital harassment.
Jacinda Ardern.
Mr Chair, I rise to take a